بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان والصلاة والسلام على رسول محمد أفصح بني عدنان وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين لهم بإحسان أما بعد فهذا كتاب موجز وضعته في علم البلاغة للتعريف بمبادئه للطلاب مرحلة العالمية في لغة سهلة وأسلوب ميسر وقد قسمت إلى مقدمة وثلاثة أبواب. المقدمة وهي المدخل إلى علم البلاغة، والباب الأول علم المعاني، والباب الثاني علم البيان، والباب الثالث علم البديع، وأدعو الله تعالى أن يعمم به النفع آمين. So this is very short book on balagha, and before it mostly basically the main terms which are used in the balagha. So this book contains the definition and some examples. But before that, I just like to explain to you what exactly balagha means and what is its importance in the language. And then after that, inshallah, we'll learn these terms. And maybe if I have time, I'll explain also that if people want to, move forward in the balagha, what is the best steps, how you can become eloquent, in speech and writing. So first thing is, where the balagha fits in the language. One of the important things for human being is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the language. I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very clear that, we gave the people language. And that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said, Ar-Rahmanu 'allama al-Qur'ana khalaqa al-insana 'allamahu al-Bayan. He gave the people bayan. And it is always have been. When we are born, we don't create our language. Language has been waiting for us. We are given the language. So what does language exactly do? The primary function of the language is to think, to help you to think. The language basically primarily what does, it helps you to think. If you don't have a language, you can't think properly. Your thinking will be affected. Maybe something you know, but you never can know properly. That's how human beings are distinguished from the animals. Animals also have some thinking, but very basic. But to develop a thinking, you need tools, and that is language. So the primary purpose of the language is to think, to help you to understand, to think. And you can see really that whenever you think, you get ideas in your mind, it always, with the language. It all the time in the language. It's impossible for you to think without the help of language. So that keep in mind, the primary function of the language is that it helps you to think. It is basic tool for thinking. Is it clear? Everywhere. This is not something secret. Everybody discuss this thing. All the people know that the basic primary purpose of the language is to help you to think, to understand, to develop your thoughts. Now the second thing is, when you have got your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings. So generally, people have two types of things you can say really. Some things are more intellectual. They are like thoughts, ideas, based on the reasoning and the mind. And sometimes people have those things which are more like sentiments, feelings, that emotions, which come your heart. So these are two things that people get. And both of them need language, both of them. When people love someone, when people fall in love, language helps them. People have a language. When people hate someone, when people have any feeling of, cold or, any feeling, it's not necessarily thinking, but it also needs language. So people need language for thinking, and people also need language for the feeling, to develop the feeling to, this, both things are human. So there are thoughts in you, which you develop, and there are also feelings in the people, and they develop. You can see really that everybody loves, but people who don't have developed language. So whenever, like everybody has love, but do everybody make Taj Mahal for their wives? No. So you see, so you can say to make Taj Mahal, you need something else. It is not just basic love. To express your love, you need something else. So similarly, to make your love, very much articulated in your own mind, you need language. The love differs from the love. So, many people just use the word love, but there are people really, you can see, their way of love and their, understanding of the love is so different from everybody else. It actually because of the help of the language. So all your feelings and all your thoughts, they need language. The basic function of the language is to help you to develop your thoughts and your feelings. The second one is then to express them. The thought that you have in your mind, now you want to let other people know what you're thinking. The feelings that you have in your mind, now you want actually other people to know what you feel, what your feelings are. You need to know. The language which you used to develop your thoughts and the language that you use to develop your feelings, your mind, they are not the same language of your audience. They not necessarily think same way. They don't necessarily use the same words. They could be different. They could be different. If you want to understand clearly, just maybe different language. For example, I'm Indian. I think in Urdu, and you people think all in English. Now, if I have to express my ideas, which I develop in Urdu, can I express them in Urdu to you? No, there is no meaning. Now I need to know your language. And people think language is just this is simple to know. Language is more than that. So similarly, could be people speak the same language, still they have two different languages. I speak English, you speak English. When I develop my thought, I use certain language which makes my thoughts very clear. But if I use the same words, it will not make clear to you, because you have, though you speak English, still you have different language. Isn't it like that? People who actually are experts of the law, when they think about the laws and develop details of the law in their mind, they have a language. If they use that technical language to explain to you, are you going to understand? No. So this we have to understand. The first thing is to develop your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own feelings. You need a language. Then after that, to express those feelings, those ideas, those thoughts, and convey them to other people, you need to use a language which other person knows. Balagha simply means that you convey your idea, your thoughts, your feeling to other people in a way that they understand those thoughts as you understand, and they get those feelings as you get. That's called balagha. Balagha means to reach. So now your ideas have reached to somebody else. Your thoughts have reached to somebody else. Your feelings have reached to somebody else. That's what balagha means. That is the second function of the language. The second function of the language is that you convey your ideas, your thoughts, your feeling in the language of your audience. It's a very, very important thing really. And this is something where people keep failing. People fail in both ways. First thing is they don't develop their own language. So their ideas are never ever clear. People think they know. People don't know. The reason is that they are weak in the language. If you are weak in the language, your understanding always will be weaker. Sometimes people think I understand. But if you ask a few questions, you will know they don't understand. The reason is they are weak in the language. Not that they are only weak in the thinking. Thinking is always weakened if the language is not proper. It always weakens if people don't know. When people develop language more and more, the thinking gets much, much better. Similarly, many teachers become annoyed when they teach. Reason is they are not able to articulate their thoughts and to explain them in a way that audience understand. So they become annoyed why they don't understand. But this is a big mistake really, that you expect people to make effort to understand you. You have to make effort to reach to them. Is it clear? Teacher think people's students should make effort to reach to us. It could happen sometime, but that's not actually what teacher is. Teacher must make effort to reach to the people, their mind. If he does not do, he will fail. He can blame anybody, but his ideas will never spread. Nobody will know. Any writer, any teacher, they fail. Reason is they never make effort how to reach to the people. Is it clear? To understand these two functions of the language. The primary function of the language is that it helps you to think and to feel. For your own feelings, for your own thoughts, you need language. Secondary function of the language is that it helps you to convey your thoughts and ideas and your feelings to your audience. In order to convey to them, you need to come to their level. And the best example is the Quran. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to explain to us whatever He knows in His own language, would we be able to understand? Never. Never. It's impossible. So the only way He can do is He explains to us in a language that He gave to us. That's why when He communicates to heaven and earth, does He communicate to heaven and earth in our language? No. He communicates, but not in our language, in other language that appropriate to them. So He is the one speaker, but the languages He uses is so many. Not because He needs the language, because the audience have different language. That how the, now you're studying balagha, the reason actually the people teach balagha in alamiya courses, that ulama are going to talk to different groups of the society, different classes. Ulama need to learn the language of those classes. If you don't learn, you will fail. And this is the reason really why ulama keep failing. Their ideas never go deep in the society, because they never make effort to understand people's language. In that sense, Greeks were much more successful. When Aristotle and other Greek philosophers, they developed philosophy, it was a time really. On the other hand, Greek was also very developed in the literature. So society generally was very highly developed in the language. There were dramas, there was this thing, poetry and everything. So what Greek philosophers did, they used their own very high language, philosophical language, for their thoughts. But when the same philosophers, they wanted to convey those thoughts to the people, then they use people's language. So they succeeded. Same Aristotle, who's so sophisticated, but when he writes in people's language. That's why until now, whether we like or don't like, whether we hate or whatever happened, Aristotle until now is successful, because developed ideas, thoughts, at the same time accessible to everybody. Anywhere you go, people have access to that. In the same time, you can see in India and everywhere else, there are some learned people, but they want to express their knowledge, in a language only some elite understand. Finish. Those ideas finish. Maybe they are much, much better than Greek, maybe in some ways, but nobody knows them. Reason is they were not able to convey those messages in people's language. Arab medicine in India is very developed. They call it Greek medicine. Actually, it is Arab medicine, but just use the old name, because originally maybe it came something from Greek, but it was developed by Messina and all these people. It is Arab medicine. Arabs left it, but Indian people kept it. But the problem happened, all these experts of Arab medicine in India until now, they always feel they're superior to the main society. So main society should not learn it. So they keep all the things hidden, secret to their own family, to their own elite people. So they write the book in that way. So though maybe for many, many illness, they have the better cure compared to the Western medical system. But Western medical system is more popular. Why? Because it has access to the common people, reach to them. That is more popular. So that's what people need really. It is not enough that you develop your thoughts, you have a very high language. It is very important really at the same time to know people's language. Is it clear? For example, I'm a faqih. So I learned fiqh, I learned vocabulary of the fiqh. All those vocabulary, haram, makruh tahrimi, makruh tanzihi, and all the wajib and fard and sunnah muakkada, sunnah ghair muakkada, and nafl and mubah, and shart and rukn, all those things that people fasad and butalan, these are terms used. So when I said to you, if you're studying the same topic, fiqh, so I said this bay' is batil, and then I said this one is fasid. Really, batil and fasid, they are two terms. They refer to two different things. If I say, by doing this thing, you miss a fard in the prayer, so it means now the prayer is not valid. If I say to you, if this makes you have missed wajib in the prayer, the prayer is valid, but it needs sajdu sahu. So these terms are good for the people who are specialists of the same field. When we go to the common people, if I use the same language, I create a barrier between us and them. So they will never be able to understand. And ulama, because they don't learn people's language, they keep repeating those words. So they will say it mubah, mufta bihi, and this qawl and that qawl, and haram, makruh tahrimi, makruh tanzih. Keep using this language. They force people to make effort to understand them. Even if people make effort to understand, they never will understand clearly as you understand. Because you spend your life, they never will understand. That's why there's a big gap between people and between. So the way you understand wajib, people never can understand. The way you understand batil, they never can understand. Because they never spend time. You just make them, force them to understand because they don't have any other language. That's what happening. This is a problem really. So we have to learn from Greek philosophers. Highly developed thoughts, but at the same time, they used very highly developed language accessible to all the people. That is very similar to what Arabs did in Jahiliyyah. All the Arab poets in Jahiliyyah, very good, whatever their thoughts, they have developed thoughts, feelings, about love, about anything, whatever, their own desert is very clear to them. They know every part of it. The descriptions, every single thing, very clear to their mind. The life of the desert is very clear to their mind. They have developed so much really. We don't have that development in our mind. Every single thing is clear to their mind. When they explained those clear ideas to the other people, they did not use their language. They used people's language. That's why Arabic poetry becomes so strong in description, because they used read every line in Imrul Qais poetry, always simile. He will say something, and then after they say, like this. This, like this. This, like this. All the time. Why? Why he keeps doing this thing? So he explains what he has done in his mind, but at the same time, he knows really what I understand clearly. People don't know, but people know something else. If I explain in the light of what they know, it will become clear to them. So like, if you have to say that his horse is, runs so fast, and, in the war, when you are fighting on the horse, sometimes horse has to move forward, sometimes backward, sometimes this way, because, then it will be, more effective. This is a thing that how you fight in the war and how the good horse does, it's not easy to explain. Some people who never fight, never know the horse. So what he said, mekarrin, mefarrin, muqbilin, mudbirin ma'an. My horse, mekar, moves forward, comes forward. Mefarrin, runs away. Muqbilin, goes in front of the person. Mudbir, backward. Ma'an at the same time. We never understand. How can we same time? This is a man. It all happened at the same time. So quickly, like he does all these four things at the same time. It is clear to him because he is in the war. So he sees every day. I am not fighting. I don't know really how the horse does this. So what he said, كَجُلُمُودَ صَخْرٍ حَتَّهُ السَّيْلُ مِنْ عَلِي. This thing people know. And he also knows, because he has to know more than everybody else. He knows his special technique of the war, but he also knows what people know. So he knows the nearest thing to explain this is in the people's languages. If the people know the mountain, and in the mountain there's a rock, big rock, and the flood comes, very powerful, then the flood cuts the rock, stone from the rest of the mountain, and then this rock falls. When the rock falls, tell me how it does. Does it go straight? No. This way, that way, this way, that way. But it is fast. It's still fast, but not very straight. Right, left, this. Isn't because the mountain like that. If you have that seen in your mind, that how rock falls from the mountain, you'll understand the horse, how it behaves in the war. Tell me this idea. He was able to explain in such a nice way. Now everybody feels familiar. Everybody understands what he wants to say. Even the people who never have been in war, they exactly know really how his horse is. So, he made everything so clear to their mind. We ulama are never able to do this. Actually, you read the full book, a whole book of an alim, no simile. Never. No simile at all from the people's life. Many good speakers in our time, they're successful not because they are very, very deep in thinking, but whatever they think, they are able to articulate that in the language of the people. So I've seen really in Tabligh Jamaat, when I was a young boy, so we are from the village, everybody farmer. So there was a good speaker, he's still alive. His name is Mawla Mustaqim Muhammad. Now he is in Markaz, Tabligh Markaz. He was young, we were a boy, now he's an old man, he's there. And he was a farmer as well, but he's Maulana and Alim and very good in Tabligh Jamaat. So when he used to come to give a speech in the villages, huge crowd, people loved him. The reason is he used to speak to the people in their language, the farmer's language. All the examples from the farm and the field and the bull and the cow and sheep and all the people know, people loved him. Things become clear to their mind and it is related to them. So he can relate everything to the people. That not he was biggest alim of India, but if you bring a big alim, he is not successful. There are ulama much bigger than him around us, big madrasas and all those things, but nobody comes to listen to them, except for Barakah, Tabarruk, shake hand, big Shaykh Barakah. But they never learn from him anything because those ulama are not able to convey their message in people's language. They fail. That's a big problem for many academics. On one hand, they learn really very high language for their own ideas, develop them, they write very simple, but only two people read what they write, themselves and their supervisor. Even the examiner, he does not know this thing. Isn't it like that, Imran? So Imran is writing something very deep. He is going to read and his supervisor. And supervisor will feel all the time it is big punishment for him. Had he not been supervisor, it would have been better for him to read such a thing. They need people's language that can enjoy it. You enjoy that reading. Like this thing. If he just said about his horse, Meqarrin, Mufarrin, Muqbalin, Mudbarin, Man, he's just lying. But when he says, Kajulumuda Sakhrin, Hattahul Salim Ali, we love him. We enjoy reading. The people read him just for enjoyment. That's what ulama need really. And it's not only ulama means all scholars. All the scholars, they need really that leave your sophisticated, your special field, come to the people's language and present your ideas in a way even your people will love. Even actually those people who are in your field, because people are tired of it. If you read all the time haram, makruh, tahrim, makruh, tanzim, are you going to enjoy this language? Tell me, is there anybody in the world who enjoys reading Hidayah? If anybody enjoys, he must be very bad taste. It is simply meaning really this person is bored, he is not language. People don't speak that language. So that language is praiseworthy just to make ideas, faster for you. But it is not enjoyable. That's why Quran never used that. Quran never has any verse in special language. Everything in the Quran is in people's language. Quran never uses special language. There is no special language in the Quran. Never really. Even when Quran explains inheritance and all those things, it's still actually people's language. There never can be any language easier for the people than that. Let's just think really. In the Quran says, لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. Read the book of inheritance, Faraid. They don't say like that. They say completely different thing. They will say the girl will get half of the boy. They will use nis, something like that. The calculation, number. They will use language of number. Number are boring things. Number are just abstract. Numbers are not real. When Quran says, لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ حَظِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. For a male is like the two female. See? So it's completely different thing. Nothing to do with that language. It is language of the people. That's how people speak. Even in this thing, but Quran generally is like that really. When Quran said about the unbelievers, that they don't use their mind. They don't understand, Allah signed. So it's still the kafir. Then Quran says, Summun, Bukmun, Umyun, Fahum la yarji'un. Summun, they're deaf. Bukmun, they're dumb. Umyun, they're blind. They can't come back. Now you think really how the unbelievers are. Why they can't come back to believe? Because they have shut all the doors. If Quran does not say Summun, Bukmun, Umyun, you never get really depth that these unbelievers, they are so great, they're scientists, they're philosophers. Why they can't understand? Why is it Quran wants to say they have shut all the doors? What they understand something different. They have shut all the doors. Their ears are blocked, eyes are blocked, mind, everything blocked. They can't understand. The way Quran puts, that's why ulama don't enjoy the Quran. because Quran is not in Hidayah language. They only read Hidayah. Most ulama don't enjoy the Quran. I tell you, most ulama, they don't enjoy. The reason is because they have not developed the language of the common people. And Quran has come in people's language. If you don't know people's language, you cannot enjoy it. To enjoy the Quran, you need people's language. That poetry. Most ulama, they don't read. They read Quran, but Quran never goes deep in their heart. This is the reason. Don't understand. But people who understand, if somebody knows poetry of any language, English, and that person reads Quran, he will understand Quran more than ulama. I tell you. Somebody knows Urdu poetry. Nice. Urdu poetry, Urdu prose, novels and stories that people write for common people. That person, if he comes to the Quran, he will be more influenced by the Quran. He can see how Quran conveys those ideas in a common language. He will be impressed by the Quran. That's how Quran does. Since you don't know this language, you never can appreciate it. You never can know. These two things are very, very important to learn really. First thing is, language's primary function is to develop your own ideas and feelings. That's primary function. Without the language, you cannot know anything. Second thing is, in order to communicate to the people, you need language. But first one is your language. When you develop your own idea, you need your own language. Means the subject that you are studying. If it's fiqh, the language of the fiqh. If you're studying logic, language of the logic, it will make things easier for you. When you communicate to the people, then you need to know the language of your audience. Understand clearly in mind who are your audience. Learn their language. Is it clear? That's what balagha is. Balagha is to basically to convey your, to develop your own language, but at the same time be able to convey that message in people's language. So balagha is concerned in the language that is spoken, that is expressed, that that used for communication. That language to reach not the language that you develop for you. That language is very simple, but the language that you use for communication. That language has got two aspects. One aspect is the basic function of basic arrangement of the language in grammar. Like in Arabic language, jumla ismiya, jumla fi'liya, marfu'at, mansubat, majrurat. That's what people of grammar do. That is helpful, but that is very, very basic. If I say to you, akala al-jidaru at-ta'ama. Grammar, man say it, yeah, it's correct. Akala is fail, al-jidaru is fa'il, marfu, and ta'ama maf'ul bihi, mansub. That's what should be anyway. Jumla is fail, yeah, and correct, because fail is on right place, and fa'il is marfu, and maf'ul bihi mansub. But does it have any sense? No mean. But people of grammar have nothing to do with that. What their concern is, how it is structured in kind of grammar. That's what they do. Then nothing more than that. You can't be there. That's why people of the grammar, those who are not literary people, those who don't know balagha, their examples are very, very stupid, boring. Very boring, really. So low degree books they write. All the time, the only thing they know is Daraba Zaidun Amran. Because the whole purpose is nothing to do with any good example. The purpose is to explain to the people, Daraba is fail, Zaid file marfu, somebody hit, somebody did not hit. Is there any example better than that in the people's? They never think about that. That if you want to say example that people love it. It's people's language. The people enjoy, people learn it, they can benefit them. Your only idea is this part of the grammar. That file is marfu and maf'ul bihi mansub. That's all. Basically, very boring books. And these boring books are taught in Indian madrasa. The worst book in the grammar ever has been written since Adam al-Islam and our time is Hidayatul Nahm. Everybody reads. The worst book. I never have seen any book worse than that. And every book madrasa in India, they teach it. Boring, then nothing right, no example, you don't learn anything, you even don't learn grammar really at the end. Because if you boring examples, nobody keeps in mind. How can you keep in mind? All the time, same thing. And then next to that is in Kafiya. Though Ibn Hajim is a great man, so I should respect him. The man of the Hidayatul Nahm, we don't know really exactly how he is. Nobody knows much about him. But the author of Kafiya is a big man. Ibn Hajim, he wrote also Shafiya in the Sarf. That's a good book. Ibn Hajim, same Ibn Hajim, who is such a big failure in the Nahw, he is very, very good in the Sarf. His book Ash-Shafi until now is the best, one of the best book in the Sarf. So he wrote it. And he has written many things, Amali, Nahu, and this and that. Everything fine except this book. Somehow in India, these two became popular. And then on the top of that, a man comes in from Iran, from Persia, Mullah Abdul Rahman Jami, a poet, Sufi poet. He's good in Sufism, Naqshbandi Shaykh. He's also good in poetry. His poetry we read in Madrasa, Yusuf Zulekha. Again, all stories are fabricated, but poetry is good. You learn something from poetry. He's not a poet of Arabic language. So he wrote this book, Yusuf Zulekha, fabricated story, bad story, nothing to do with reality. Yusuf al-Salam, before coming to Egypt, Zulekha sees him in dream 3 times. And all the time he describes every single thing up, from Yusuf and Zulekha, and how Zulekha's hair are, how her forehead is, how her nose is, how her tongue is, every single thing. You were there. But he knows everything about Zulekha. Every single thing of Zulekha he describes Mullah Jami. So he's a poet. So he can do this, and people read and enjoy that. Whether it is true or not, but they enjoy that. His book is spread in India. Abdul Rahman Jami's son came to India to study Arabic language. So the Indian ulama, people said he's the son of Abdul Rahman Jami. Oh, they said the son of this man, Jami, who wrote this stupid book, Yusuf Zulekha, nothing right. So he came to his father and said, you wrote a book which has very bad name in India. He said, okay, I'll do something. He wrote then commentary on Kafiya, Sharh Mullah Jami. And then Indian people find it so difficult. They say, oh, now he's a scholar. What Sharh Mullah Jami is of Kafiya? Kafiya itself is such a bad book. Now it's commentary on that, what will happen. So Mawla Shibli Nomani, he's very right. He said, فِيهَ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا النَّحْوِ. In the Sharh Mullah Jami is everything except Nahu. Book of Nahu. That's what Indian curriculum really is. Indian curriculum starts with Hayatun Nahu and ends with Sharh Mullah Jami. That's what people do until now. So how can they learn any grammar? Better than that actually is book like Qatul Nada, Ibn Hisham, Sharh Qatul Nada, Sharh Sulaf, in example, something like that. Better than them is Zamakhshari, Jurjani, and the best person, no doubt, is Sibo himself. Very highly developed language. Language of literature, common people's language, developed language. It is not like technical language. Technical language for you understand, but he uses as much as possible people's language. That's what So anyway, I'm trying to say that one basic thing the language is the grammar. Just grammar is right. That should be. If there is no grammar, if grammar is wrong, it's never can be balagha. So it's true really. The people should learn grammar. Marfuat, mansubat, majrurat. If you do mistake in the grammar, then never can be balagha. So that is basic thing. But that's not what balagha means. Balagha means after that you use that language which can communicate, convey your message, your thoughts, your ideas to the audience properly. It has some meaning, some sense. So if you say akala al-jidar or ta'ama, it is correct according to grammar, but it has no sense at all. Nothing. Does not mean anything. That's what people need really. That balagha is convey the message. When you convey the message, there are 3 levels. How many? 3. When you use. First thing is, try to understand really that the message you want to convey, what, how the language has developed to convey that message. If you want to say something, simply use jumla fi'aliyya. Dhahaba Zaydun ila al-masjid. That's fine. You want to say Zayd went to the mosque. Simple thing is, this is balagha. Dhahaba Zaydun ila al-masjid. You actually use fi'al, then fa'il, and then this, and people get simple message that you want to say. If you want to make a little bit more emphasis, you can say like that. Zaydun dhahaba ila masjid. Now people know really you want to emphasize Zayd. Grammar will not teach you this, but balagha will teach you. Now this is different. Zaydun dhahaba ila masjid is different. You want to emphasize more, you can say Zaydun dhahibun ila masjid. Something different because for a reason you want to emphasize. Could be that people have some doubt, something like that. So you say Inna Zaydan dhahaba ila masjid. You can say Inna Zaydan dhahibun ila masjid. Or you can say Inna Zaydan la dhahibun ila masjid. Or you can say Wallahi Inna Zaydan la dhahibun ila masjid. Or Allahu ya'lamu Inna Zaydan la dhahibun ila masjid. So you can say same sentence, you can say so many ways, but it depends on the condition of your audience. So balagha basically use the basic sentences, but keep in mind your audience, how you understand, and if it's and how much he knows. Maybe he had heard that Zaid is going to mosque, but he's doubtful. So then you have to emphasize, no, inna Zaidan la zahibun. You want to remove his doubt. You have to emphasize. Quran says, kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. But Quran also sometimes says, innaka mayyitun wa innahum mayyitun. Surely you're going to die. Nobody has doubt about death, but there is a context Quran has to emphasize, innaka mayyitun. So sometimes Quran makes simple sentence, sometimes Quran makes emphasize, sometimes Quran will say Allahu Ahad, sometimes Quran says inna Allah la wahid, sometimes emphasis will come. Sometimes say shahid Allah annahu la ilaha illahu wal malaika. Allah witness. Quran same thing, Allah is la ilaha illallah, but in Quran does not come simply. Sometimes Quran says shahid Allah annahu la ilaha. Sometimes Quran says wallahu ya'lamu innaka la rasuluh. You see? The Quran just says Muhammad Rasulullah. But why in one place Quran says wallahu ya'lamu innaka la rasuluh. Inna and then lam. Though in one place Quran just says simply Muhammadun Rasulullah. Muhammad is Allah's messenger. But in one place Quran says Allahu ya'lamu innaka la rasuluh. So this is called ma'ani. Ma'ani means that you understand really the meanings of different expressions properly and use them the right way. So when you use qasam, when you use ta'qeed, when you use amr, command, when you use a nahy, it's a different thing. Sometimes people can say, drink, halal drink. Okay? This is good. Sometimes you say, don't drink wine. You make a nahi. Though at the end maybe both look same, but they're not same. They're two different purposes in the language. Sometimes, generally, just simple thing, you just want to, you eat halal food. But sometimes could be possible that people are eating one particular haram food very much. Then you have to forbid clearly. Don't drink wine. Don't eat this food. You have to make it clear. So both are not same sentence. Though maybe in your mind both are same. Many ulama don't understand this thing. So they use the one sentence in the place of the other. So that way it does not make impact. It really needs impact. You should know your audience. If you use that language which they have got, what they have in mind, you understand, then it will be helpful. So that we learn where? In Ma'ani. After this Ma'ani, the second stage is really, not only that, still we need to make points much clearer to the mind of the people. Much clearer. So for example, if you want to say that pork is haram, pig is haram, don't eat it. And really, they don't understand this thing, but they don't like to eat dog's meat. They think dog is very dirty. So you can say that, pork is like dog. Or maybe you can say pork is like, dung. Anything that people think haram, you bring something like that, so then it goes more effective. People drink wine, they say drinking wine is like drinking urine. So when you say this thing, then mind think, oh, it is so dirty. This bhag. If you just say it haram, it does not necessarily convey the same message. When you bring simile, then things become much clearer to the mind of the people. The second aspect is that though the basic meaning which you convey to the people in right language, in people's language, still you need to make it more clear. So to make more clear, you need to bring stories, similes from the life and from the society of the people. If I teach in London and people know in London very well, so the way basically is to explain to the people, using the simile that people know in London. And if I used to use the simile of my village, what will happen? You will run away. Because that language does not make any sense to you. I have to make relate things to your own experience. Then it makes much more sense. Otherwise, it never makes sense. Is it clear to everybody? So this is a bayan. Bayan is basically more developed than ma'ani. After that, more clarity. Like Allah says, Allahu nurus samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heaven and earth. It's clear. It's a very clear language. There's no doubt about that. But still, Allah says, it is balagha. Mubtada or khabar properly. Then after that, Allah wants to make things clearer in the language of the people. What people know, what people don't know. People don't know Allah's light. But Allah says, now Allah wants to explain, but He has to explain in the people's language. So what He says, كَمَثَلِ مِشْكَاتٍ فِيهَا مِصْبَاحٌ الْمِصْبَاحُ فِي الزُّجَاجَةِ وَالزُّجَاجَةُ كَأَنَّهَا كَوْكَبٌ دُرِّيٌّ يُوقَدُ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ مُبَارَكَةٍ زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية. It is like a mishkat. فيها مصباح. Mishkat, this niche, what, make it like from glass. فيها مصباح. Inside the mishkat is the مصباح. المصباح في زجاجة. The lamp itself is in a glass. والزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري. زجاجة is not to stop light from زجاجة is so clean. It itself is light. كأنها كوكب دري. It is star, not only star. It is like a star made from the pearl. Pearl shines. كوكب دري. And then المصباح يوقد من الشجرة المباركة. The oil that is used in this misbah, in the lamp, is not any ordinary oil. شجرة المباركة, blessed tree. زيتون لا شرقية ولا غربية, which is not grown in the east or in the west. A special one. And it is so good in enlightening. يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسس النار. Its oil is about to enlighten it, even if you don't touch with the fire. It is so ready to tell me when you read this, what will happen. You bow. Nobody can say it like that. It's impossible. And everybody will understand. Such a high thing. Allah explains the light that he wants to explain. But in a language, everybody understands. Everybody understands. That was the clever thing really. You bring the big meaning, deep meaning, clever meaning. But you put in language which everybody understands. Tell me, it is simple sentence, Allah Nur. No. Much, that's bayan. Tashbih. Much better. You make things so clear. The people say that Hamza is brave. You say Hamza is brave like a lion. Hamza is brave is a full sentence. Kind of ma'ani. Then you make bayan. Hamzatu shuja'un kal asad. Now much more clear. Then people know what lion means. People know how lion does. So that is bayan. Is it clear? The ma'ani is a basic skill of the communication, understanding the meaning and use the meaning rightly. And ma'ani. People really should write books, at least considering the ma'ani. Even in the fiqh and usul al-fiqh, but people don't do it really. Like a book like Usul Shashi, it fails even the first standard. It's nothing to do with the ma'ani. It is like Hidayatul Nahu. So these books, they don't actually have that skill. But when the Zamakhshari writes, amazing person. The Zamakhshari is so good. He writes mufassal, but he makes effort to write in people's language. He makes effort to avoid terms and those boring language as much as possible. Wherever he finds any space, he will use people's language. He keeps avoiding that because he understands the function of the language. He wants to communicate to people. He writes tafsir. He is a Mu'tazili. For a long time, after Ahmad Hanbal, Mu'tazila became defeated in Islam. They were champion until Ahmad Hanbal. Then Ahmad Hanbal had fighting them, but anyway, faced them. And somehow, Mutawakkil ala Allah comes, and then he loves Ahmad Hanbal, and and Mu'tazila defeated. But and people don't like Mu'tazila. There are many books disappeared. The Maqshad Mu'tazili, and he wrote tafsir. And the Quran is so central in Islam, so central. Ashari people hate Mu'tazila. So they don't like people reading Mu'tazila tafsir, because they read Mu'tazila tafsir, they'll be full by Mu'tazila ilm kalam, and they don't want that. So Ashari people made every effort to replace Kashaf, to write a tafsir which have same thing what Kashaf had, but Ashari theology. They failed. Qadi Baydawi comes, write tafsir Baydawi, so people don't read Kashaf. Never succeed. Because it is not just kalam. Baydawi was wrong. Baydawi think it is a tafsir and a kalam. It is more than that. It is the language skill of Zamakhshari. He was able to write tafsir, even bad theology, wrong theology, in people's language. Until now, Sunni world has not been able to write any book which can replace Kashaf. Until now, we failed. That's why we need Kashaf. Until now, we are not able. So many years have passed in Islam, but Muslims are not able to write any book like Kashaf. Ibn Taymiyyah criticized Kashaf so much, and he is the most critic of Kashaf, but he himself reads it. He knows it so well. He keeps referring to it. It is amazing book. That what does really. When you do this something like that, you excel. Then even people who oppose your theology, your ideas, they are forced to. Then when they read, they influence. Taqiyuddin Subki, Tajuddin Subki's father, Tajin Subki writes that my father was teaching Kashaf, and he reached to the tafsir of in Surah Takwir in Kashaf. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about Angel Jibreel alayhi salam, Allamahu shadidul quwa, dhu mirratin fastawa, all those things. So then the Makhshari's opinion is that human angels are better than the human being. He said, see the difference between angel and between the best prophet. He wants to say that he wants to prefer Jibreel over Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, my father became so angry, he threw the book. Yeah, you can throw the book. Why don't you write a book like that? He's throwing solution. He threw the book, and they're very happy that he was so angry, he threw the book. Throwing Kashaf is not going to solve any problem. Write Kashaf. Taqi Dunsubki can become angry. Ibn Taymiyyah can criticize the Kashaf, but they are not able to produce like Kashaf. This is probably until Ibn Taymiyyah has written so much about tafsir, but there's no systematic complete tafsir. There's no book that can take the place of Kashaf until now. That what is this. When you write in people's language, that's what happens really. In that sense, Arastu was very, very clever. And Ibn Sina is not so successful. The reason is Ibn Sina still uses high language. It's still not that. But Ibn Sina knows poetry very well. Ibn Sina is very good in poetry. Very, very good. He knows poetry. He knows all those things. He makes effort. But still, it is very advanced language. It is basically book is for the elite. It is not for everybody else. But Aristotle's writing, they're for the people, for everybody. So try to understand this is very, very important. You see, he writes tafsir, but even tafsir he makes so interesting that people love it. If you want to know Arabic literature, enjoy, read his tafsir. It's so enjoyable. You read it, you love it. He criticizes Sufis so much, but all Sufis read Kashaf. There is so much criticism against Sufi. He basically, he just make mockery of Sufi people in Kashaf. They read. He against Hanbali people so clear, calls them Hashawiyya and this thing, that thing. Everybody reads. People can hate Kashaf, but they don't have any book. That what we read. That you become so good. And that how makes your ideas go deep in everyone's society. That's the Bayan. So the Makhshari is not only the man of the Ma'ani and Bayan at the same time. So this is it. The Bayan is that you make your idea clear by making simile, stories. That's what Quran is really. Stories are, that's what function the story is. When you make a story, things become much, much clearer. If Quran said, if you do taqwa and sabr, you succeed. Yeah, just abstract. But when Quran brings the story of Yusuf al-Islam, the whole story of taqwa and sabr, from beginning to end, and then Quran puts that sentence, إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِ وَيَصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. You love it. This goes deeper really. It becomes your reference. Alhamdulillah, for myself, when I have a problem, first thing comes to my mind is Surah Yusuf. It's just a story in so different angle. And then it's easy to understand. When you have a problem, you can relate yourself to the story of Yusuf. And then you understand how things are there. So that really is a very, very important to understand the Bayan. And the third thing also is beautification. You have Bayan, but people love beauty. Like a woman is very good, beautiful, and all those things. Then after that, she adorns herself as well. She puts all those things, things which can adorn the jewelry and ornament, and that increase the beauty. So if you have Ma'ani, Bayan, then the third thing is more beautification. They're called Badi. Badi is when make your words rhyme a little bit, maybe somehow they fit. So tongue easily can speak one word to the other word, move from one thing. Sometimes also you need, beauty in the meaning as well. Like Allah said, هُوَ الَّذِي أَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى. Allah is the one who makes people to laugh and to make people to cry. Allah does everything. But dhahk and buka, the two opposite. So when you put these two opposite meaning in the mind, then it's open. That he does this, he does opposite of that. Between these two, many, many things he does. This is beauty. It is beauty in the meaning, beauty in the word. So Quran does very often. Most Quranic beautification in the meaning. The way Quran puts the meaning, sometimes actually, when you read it, the Quran wants to say that unbelievers are stupid. But if you say stupid, it doesn't make so much. But when Quran puts their stupidity in a right context, then you can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the reason people don't listen to the Prophet, why? People like Abu Jahl, because they think we are Aziz, we are bigger than, better, better than Prophet Muhammad in genealogy and this thing and that thing. And Kareem, we are noble. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishing them in the day of judgment, punishment in the higher. So Allah said, Dhuk, taste it. Innaka antal azizul kareem. Because you are the one who is Aziz and Kareem. Taste it. Now you relate that how they used to say Aziz and Kareem, and now Allah is using the same term. This I'm Aziz, I'm Kareem. So Allah said, Dhuk, innaka antal azizul kareem. This is, like hammer. Not only punishment, the punishment and big. This sentence, really makes them so low. Dhuk, you think you are Aziz? Dhuk. Aziz don't taste fire, but you are Aziz to taste it. Dhuk, innaka antal azizul kareem. And all the people you have been punishing were there. They say, Ma lana la nara rijalan kunna na'udhum al-ashrar. Where are the people who you think they are very evil? أَتَّخَذْنَاهُمْ سُخْرِيًّا أَمْ زَاغَتْ عَنْهُ الْأَبْصَارُ. Is it that they are good people, but we laughed at them? Oh, we can't see them. They are here in fire, but we can't see them. You see, this is a thing, it is simple matter. They are not there. But that is not, it is, a faqih will say, unbelievers will be in hellfire and believers in the paradise. But you see, Quran not language of faqih. The Quran said the unbelievers will look in the hellfire. Where are the people who you think lower than us? They should be lower than us in the hellfire. So they don't find them there. So what they say? It could be that we laughed at them, made mockery. They were better than us. We thought they are lower. Or maybe they are round. But I can't catch them. See their problem. See the problem. Still their eyes are not seeing properly. Quran must say, all the reality become open. Still they can't see. Simple facts. But Quran makes something else. Quran says, يَوْمَ نَقُولُ لِجَهَنَّمْ هَلِ امْتَلَأْتِ وَتَقُولُ هَلْ مِن مَزِيدٍ. In the day of judgment, we'll fill hellfire with all unbelievers, mushrikeen, kuffar, their idols, all the things that they have been worshipping, everything will be there. And then what Allah says, يَوْمَ نَقُولُ لِجَهَنَّمْ. The day we'll ask hellfire, هَلِ امْتَلَأْتِ. Are you full? So what hellfire will say? وَتَقُولُ هَلْ مِن مَزِيدٍ. She will say, is there something more? Tell me really, when you read this, how lively is the whole scene? That hellfire is full with all things. And Allah, the owner of the hellfire, He wants to satisfy her. He asks her, are you full now? Allah wants to say that, you see, how greedy she is, how big she is. I am the owner. I am the maker of it. I ask her, are you full? No, I made her so big, even when I fill her with everything. And I said to her, are you full? She's saying, Hal min mazid. Is there something more? Tell me really, it is the same to say, Jahannam kabiratun. Jahannam is very big. It is, at the end of the meaning is, hellfire is very big. But if you say this sentence, Jahannam is very big, is this sentence and what Allah says both are the same? They're not the same. That's what the skill means really. That's what is people don't keep missing really. That, that's when even to after Bayan the Badi. Badi are this beautification. But beautification needs a right taste. Right taste. That actually very big problem really. When you adorn something, it is enough really for most, the women example is much better. If a woman had the ma'ani means proper health, everything fine, that's ma'ani. Her bayan is that she is beautiful, attraction, all the things. Then badi is to add more adornment, externally, something adds her beauty. But if a woman actually, she is healthy, she is the proper body, and at the same time, face is pretty. For most people, it's fine. They don't need anything else. Adornment or all those things. Not, but some adornment will make more attractive. That's fine. People don't understand really. This adornment works on that woman. Why? Because she's already beautiful. So then you add a little bit more ornament or something like that. Attraction increases. But imagine you get a pig and put all the ornaments and jewelry on the pig. Are you going to fall in love with her? It is not really these adornments make things. It is something else. First thing is, some people have this wrong idea. They think, if I use those same ornaments, same jewelry, I look handsome. And the people don't look at you, you become annoyed. that I use more expensive ornament than this woman. Why people look at her, not me? Because there's something else you don't have. It is not adornment. Adornment is something additional. Many people, when they write or they speak a language, they don't have any meaning, no sense. They don't know how to use ma'ani and bayan. Only thing they know badi, just beautification. They fail. They keep failing. All the time keep failing. Because this is not how language is. You fail to understand the function of the language. Quran is a very, very good example. Even the Prophet sometimes use the badi, but that badi is so good. But some people just do takalluf. And the worst example for takalluf is maqamat al-Hariri. There are some good examples in Hariri and Badi'u Zaman. Badi'u Zaman is better than him. But Hariri is the worst person on the face of the earth for this maqamat. Useless language, useless style really. Nobody can follow it. Nobody can impress by it. Just playing with the words. There's no meaning. Just words. Nothing else there. Just rhyming all the time. Nothing there. The language like that, they don't have any function. Nothing. You think really by adding this beauty, it will become important. Not important. Just entertainment. The reason people read Hariri, not because there is any message or anything to learn. It is just entertainment. Entertainment can be so many different kinds of entertainment. So people go to the zoo, entertainment. You look, monkey, donkey, all the animals which you don't like to be like that. Why? Because people like something like that in life, something like that. The people, when they have good life, sometimes they like to read Maqamat Hariri, a bad language, and people think, it is something good. Not good. This actually, some people have wrong idea about language. They think these, external, things, they can make you more beautiful. You have to use it properly, have right sense. If you don't have right sense, you will fail. And people have been failing, when they use this language. In Urdu, there have been people using this thing. So they never reach to the top words. Because top words have ideas, and they know how to communicate to the people. You're just using something additional. This beauty, that's the badi. The badi is really very, not easy to use it. First thing for anybody is to use a ma'ani, then bayan. Then after that, if you're expert, somebody will come by itself really. Sometimes you don't feel, but it comes directly. But if people leave all those two, there's no ma'ani, no badi, just no bayan, just badi, just all rhyming and this thing. It's boring. It's like language of fuqaha. This is the reason that why fuqaha fail, because fuqaha don't understand ma'ani bayan. Is it clear to everybody? So, okay, I'll summarize. Let me say it again. So the basic primary function of the language is that it's a tool for thinking. It helps you to develop, to articulate, to make your thoughts very clear. It basically helps you for thinking, for feeling. Secondary function of the language is that it tools to convey your feelings and your thoughts to other people. When you do and understand the basic way of language, that ma'ani basically, or ma'ana properly, and use those things, differences to communicate, you are successful. Then second stage comes that you want to make it more clear. So then you bring simile, stories, metaphoric, so many other things to make things much clearer to the mind of the people. That's bayan. That Quran does so much. Quran is full of the examples of the bayan. Like Quran says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. That is ma'ani. So nicely Quran says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. It is what? Ma'ani. Then Quran says, خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. This is bayan. More than that. They will not be believers. Unbelievers, they will not go to la yu'minun. Quran says they're never going to come back to iman. Now Quran gives example. Allah has put a seal on their hearts. There's no seal. It is just bayan. It is bayan. Put a seal on their hearts, and seal on their hearing, and curtain on the eye. Tell me, when you put a seal, what it means? Nothing can go inside and nothing can come outside. When you seal your letter, seal properly. Anything you seal, wine is bottle is sealed. What seal means? Seal means nothing can go inside and nothing can come outside. خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ. Nothing can go inside. وَعَلَىٰ أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ, and on their eyes are a curtain. If the curtain are on the eyes, you can't see. So when you see this, then you know the meaning of La Yuminun. The Quran make La Yuminun more clear. To confirm, they never can come back. It's impossible. This is what actually Quran does. The Quran is not very just, language of fuqaha to make fiqh. The unbelievers will never believe. If you say like that, nobody will be interested. They say, you just repeat. When you say unbelievers, it means unbelievers anyway. So what you're saying, they're not going to believe. Doesn't make much sense. But when the Quran explains it with bayan, it becomes more sensible. Quran is full of the way of the bayan. That's actually how languages used to be in the past. Generally, read actually mu'allaqat. Mu'allaqat are full of the bayan. Ma'ani, bayan. Ma'ani, bayan. Ma'ani, bayan. Keep coming all the time. Ma'ana conveyed properly, then further explanation. Same Quran. Ma'ana explained properly, then further explanation. Ma'ana and bayan. That's what I mean, to make it nearer to the mind of the audience. Then they understand properly. That's why examples work. That's why simile works. That's why stories work. Because stories are from people's life. It works. Quran keeps making stories. Kamathali ladhi, and the story of this person, and don't see this man or that man. Quran keeps bringing all the stories of those people. So, Musa al-Salam, Fir'aun and Haman and Qarun, all the stories keep coming. What Quran wants to say from the story, they are very simple. One sentence can be enough. But no, further explanation makes it much, much more effective. So that is bayan. Anyway, the reason I did all these things which are not itself bayan, it's more boring because I'm teaching. So teachers have to do things which are boring. But when you come to the people, you can't say the same way. And also because I studied in the madrasa, so I know really people study balagha and they don't know what it means. They have no idea what balagha means. People actually never use it. Maulana Shib Nomani had very nice article on balagha. And he said all these ulama, they read all these books of balagha. They never enjoy the Quran. They never write nicely. They never write. They never learn anything from balagha. Because they have no idea what balagha means. They have no idea. They don't understand the function of the balagha. At the moment, weakest language in the world is language of the ulama. Not in the past. In the past, the ulama who used to write, they used to develop writing. Like Ghazali, Imam Ghazali, when he writes properly, nicely, professional, thinks in examples. He's man of the literature. He understands it properly. Ibn Taymiyyah writes, good language of people. So you can read it, you can enjoy it, you can understand it. Ibn Taymiyyah did not spend so much time on this thing because his writing was very fast, very quickly. So he did not develop it so much, but still it's much, much clear. But the Makhshari, all these ulama, even Tabari, when he writes tafsir, very good language, good, it goes deeper. Ibn al-Jawzi, read Sajul Khatir. Sajul Khatir, just his thoughts. Very powerful book, really. One of the book really which influenced me so much is Ibn al-Jawzi Sajul Khatir. I never find any book so effective. Small book, his thoughts, but he's a man of the literature. That's why he was able, that when he used to give his speech, giving a sermon was basically an art. Sermon is not something easy. You have to know really your audience and you move their heart. So the mosque of the Khalifa in Jamia Baghdad, that was the best place for to be a good speaker, to be the best speaker. So when the Khatib of the Wa'id of the mosque died, so there was selection. Many people, came for competition. Ibn Jawzi was one of them. But somehow, everywhere, in selection, somebody is biased. So they intentionally removed him. Though he deserved the place more than anybody else, they removed him. But he did not accept the defeat. He got a small mosque. He is skillful. Then basically, whole Baghdad comes to his mosque. His mosque became more important than the mosque of Khalifa. Even the Khalifa, the mother, everybody listened to Ibn Jawzi, not that mosque. That how very, very powerful. Really, you can see really so good in this matter. And that's why he did not pay so much attention on tahqiq and alim and all, because he can see people love him. So there are so many fabricated hadiths and weak hadiths and this hadith and that hadith in his sermons. Though he knows, but he uses them because he is not careful. Same person when he writes on the hadith, mawdu'at and all this, he's so strong, but he uses all of them. When he teaches, he uses all of them because his intention is to move a heart of the people. And in that one, he's so good. The ulama in the past used to write a good, highly developed language. Even in India, people like Maulana Shibli Nomani, he's alim. But in India, there are hardly any man of literature who is better than Shibli. All the literary people, they love Shibli. So on one hand, he's the Imam of the ulama. On the other hand, he's the best adif of India, best literary man of India. Writes light language standard. Until now, people read. Maulana Maududi, ulama hate him. Fatwa so much against him. But among all the ulama, Maulana Maududi is the most successful alim to write in people's language. Until now, there is no alim who can write like Maulana Maududi. Nobody. Sorry? What's it? Yeah, when people write, that's what happened. Then it becomes very, very popular. Then you can't stop the ideas because it is people's language. You can't stop. That's how Quran is. How Quran make a way to the people? Because it is people's language. People get it. That's what people need. It needs to be learned. People think you can do it without learning. It needs, as you spend time to learn Hidayah, ulama need to spend time to learn language of the people. If they don't spend time, they will fail really. Stories, all these things, they need to learn. In the past, they used to teach. That's why ulama used to be very good in the literature. Now all those books are gone. Nobody reads them. But in the past, if you read a Gulistan of Shaykh Saadi, dirty stories. Maybe the purpose was this, that ulama should be familiar with every language. So, but very eloquently done. Shaykh Saadi is the Imam of the Balagha. Then hardly anybody like him. In the prose, he's a prophet. People say he's a language like a prophet in the prose. I read poetry in Ghazal. Ghazal, Shaykh Saadi is Imam of the Ghazal. Nobody writes Ghazal poetry like Shaykh Saadi, Hafiz Shirazi. Read him. These people, they're all really, but they became pillars of Persian poetry. Dar sher sehkas payambaranand, har chand ki goi la nabiya ba'di. In the poetry, 3 people like prophets. Each one of them is such a big prophet, he can say, La Nabiya Ba'di, no prophet after me. So this Qasida o Abiyato Ghazal Ra, Firdausi o Anwari o Saadi. When you come to Qasida, then you come to Anwari. Abiyat, you come to Firdausi. Ghazal, Saadi. Anwari actually is not so good. Some people think the person who made this poetry person, he must be student of Anwari, just so he want to bring his name. Anwari is not a big man. But Saadi, read Firdausi. Firdausi has written Shahnama. Shahnama is basically a story of Persian history. War and fighting. Alexander the Great comes to Iran to conquer it, and Darius is the king of Persian people. Fighting happens. Though Alexander is the one who wins, but in Shahnama, hero is Darius. Read really is amazing book. When the war is happening, the words he chooses, the words will tell you the sword and we are fighting. You can see from the words, the people are fighting. And when the people sit and drink wine and enjoy, the words will tell you it is just sitting and enjoying. He chooses the words differently. Amazing person. When he talks about the war, in another language. When he talks about the drinking and wine and this thing, same person. For everything he knows what are the words to choose. Different skill really. Same thing Shaykh Saadi. Whenever he talks, amazing. So when you read people like that, you know how to convey the message. But people don't read them. Same thing, people are early poets, very, very good in this matter. Bohtari is very good person. But when it comes to Abu Tammam, it becomes philosophy. So that's why Mutanabbi used to say, Ana wa Abu Tammam Failsufane wa Sha'iru al-Buhtari. Me and Abu Tammam are philosophers. Because they just create meaning. Buhtari writes in people's language. The poet is so great really. The Buhtari is student of Abu Tammam. But in poetry, he is much, much better than his teacher. Because he writes in people's language. And Abu Tammam makes everything philosophy. He's also good, but not so influential. This is the thing about people's language. Iqbal comes, he's not biggest alim in India. Actually, ulama in India, then from whom he learned are people like Maulana Sulaiman Nadwi and this and that. He writes letter to them. But he made more impact than many ulama. Reason is, he wrote in people's language, that poetry. Amazing things, simile and all those things. People love that. People used to memorize that. That, understand what balagha means, understand the functions of balagha. After reading this book, don't stop it here. That I advise you read the good examples, from poetry, from prose, best writers. And then when you teach people, right? So for example, if somebody asks you, what do you say about smoking? So if you're faqih, you'll say it's makruh tahrimi, or sometimes it's haram, or sometimes it's makruh. Doesn't do any good. Nothing will happen. It's not the way. The way, don't use haram. Don't say makruh tahrimi. Don't say anything. Just bring its harm to the mind of people. That what it does to the people. Just by simile, something like that, make it near to the mind of people that how harmful smoking is. A person who explains harm of smoking properly in people's language will be more effective than a faqih who said it is makruh tahrim. Quran does not say. Quran never uses the word haram for wine. Does Quran ever say wine is haram? But Quran makes wine very ugly. Quran says, لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. Don't come near to the prayer when you are drunk until you know what you say. It makes it very clear to the mind that drunk people don't know what they say. Quran says, إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس. Category. All these things together. إنما الخمر, wine, maisir, gambling, in the Khmar, والميسر والأنصاب, the statues that people make, the idols, والأزلام, the arrow that is used for gambling, all of them are rijisun. They are dirt, filth. Rijisun. Min amal shaitan. They are from shaitan's action. You see, shaitan is so ugly in the mind anyway. And Quran, rich, then min amal shaitan. First thing Quran put in category. Quran did not put drink wine in the category of the water and milk. No. Quran putting it where? You can see when you choose the things that will tell you. Quran innamal khamru wal maisiru wal ansab wal azlam. All dirty things. 4 dirty things together. So that come deep in the mind. Then it's a rijisun, dirty anyway. And then say min amali shaitan. Shaitan is the one who brings to people. And shaitan our enemy. You can see how shaitan does. And there's a fajtanibu. Avoid it. And then Quran says, فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. Are you going to stop? Certainly after that you say, no, intahina. We are going to stop. Is it same to say makruh tahrimi or makruh haram? Alim will say, khamr is haram. Quran does not say. Quran never says haram is haram. But what Quran does, much more effective than word haram. Because the Quran makes it nearer to your mind, becomes deep in your mind, puts it inside there. That know what it is. That what balagha is. That you speak people's language, convey the ideas and thoughts and feelings to people's heart and mind so clearly that they feel as you feel. And they, like Imrul Qais, he passes by the ruined places of his beloved. So he said, قفا نبك من ذكرى حبيبي ومنزلي بسقط اللواء بين الدخول فحوملي فتودها فالمقلاة لم يعفر اسمها لما نسيتها من جنوب وشمالي. قفا. Stop here. They're traveling. They don't need to stop. He said, no, this place I must stop. He asked his friends, no, here stop. So this, this big thing that in desert he's passing by, suddenly stops. Qifa. Stop, why? Nabki. Let me cry. Why you need to cry? You're traveling, you're so happy and going, now you need to cry. There's a nabki. Min dhikra habib. I want to remember my beloved. Manzili and house. This thing, moves the heart. This reminds you that how much love he had lost in this place. There was a love he lost in this place. And when he passed by, that love became fresh. It actually moves your heart as well. You feel same to what he feels. When he says, Qifa nabke, stop, I want to cry. When he said this, you start crying. Your hearts are moved. That's how things are. This is so beautiful, really. You can just imagine when the people say this thing. I like one of the poets said, Hawaya ma'arrakbili yamanina mus'adun janibun wa juthmani bimakkata muthaqu. He's a poet. He fell in love with a woman. And she is traveling with the Yemeni caravan. And he is in Makkah. And put in the jail, in the prison. He did something maybe to in the prison. His beloved, she is traveling to Yemen with a qafila. And he is in the prison. He said, Hawaya مع الركب اليمانين مسعد. He did not say Habibi, Hawaya, my desire. My desire is with Yemeni caravans going in that direction. Mus'adun, Janibun, side by side. وَجُثْمَانِ بِمَكَّةَ مُثَقُ. But my body is here. Meaning it, my desire, my heart has gone with her, going with her next to each other. So my heart, my desire, my love, traveling with this my beloved together. Janibun, side by side. Only my body is arrested in Makkah. They can't arrest my heart. They only arrested my body. My heart is traveling with her. Then he said, then he imagined her. It's very nicely. Nobody can use so nicely. Alammat, fahayyat, thumma qamat, fawadda'at, falamma tawallat, kadat in-nafs tadhaq. Nobody ever has used so many verbs in one sentence as he did. Alammat, she came. He's in the prison. She never came. He's imagining. She came. Alammat, fahayyat. Then she said salam to me. Fahayyat. Thumma qamat. Then after talking with me, all those talks, whatever he wanted, thumma qamat. Then she stood up. Thumma qamat. Fawaddat. Then she said farewell, goodbye. Falamma tawallat. And when she turned away, she turned her face. Kadat in-nafsu tadhaqu. The soul was about to come out. I was about to die. Tell me really. Isn't it effective? It just is a simple thing that, I was in Makkah and people put in person and my wife went to Yemen. So what? Who is going to read this? Except a boring person like you. You say it and you read it. Nobody enjoys anything like that. But this man said, until now we enjoy. Alammat. People love this book. Just actually, nobody is able to say something like that. Alammat fahayyat. Thumma qamat fawadda'at. Falamma tawallat. Kadat in-nafs. This is what it means really. People say, you make the people feel what you feel. They know what you need. That balagha is.
Slightly unrelated to balagha, but you mentioned about the Persian poets. Yeah. So I was interested to know the prominence of this story of Yusuf Zulaykha by Jamia. So much popular in the Muslim psyche, especially in the Indo-Pak subcontinent. Why is it that the ulama didn't counter that with the Quran, so that in the general Muslim psyche, they knew the Quranic version of the story of Yusuf rather than through the Jami's Zulaykha?
All the ulama, the only story about Yusuf Zulaykha they know is from Jami. Nobody even knows what Quran said. Even they are not able to make distinction. So, and Urdu books make more corrupt. So people really have no, people make tafsir of Surah Yusuf, they keep bringing all those stories. The reason is because that's what they have read. So that I'm thinking, when you read, teach something so eloquent, it dominates your mind. Because that's what they read. Because they read Yusuf Zulaykha. This really, not only Yusuf Zulaykha, everything like that really. Hamza, radiallahu anhu, compared the Prophet, his uncle. Amazing person, in Islam. And his biography is good in the books of Rijal and, books of, Sira, 1 or 2 pages, nicely. But in India, how many volumes? 35 volumes. On Hamza, 35 volumes. So what there is. And if I tell you the story that, because I read part of it, so dirty you cannot imagine. Hamza is no more Hamza that you know. All dirty. 2 things are there, brave, and all the women love him. He's so brave, so strong, and the women fall in love with him because the story cannot move. If you have 35 volumes, and the story was not written, it was first told, and you have big audience, tell me how they're going to listen, unless you bring women there in love. That's how people do. The long stories always they need women, love. Even Quranic story Yusuf al-Islam, the reason it works so long because the woman is there. But Allah sometimes used so nicely that with the purity, everything, it works nicely. But otherwise, 35 volumes are Hamza. Nobody going to read unless you have something else. It's all full of that. And that was, when you read that was coming deep in your mind. Same thing, conquest of Persia and Roman Empire. Stories are there historical. But people like me and all the ulama, they read Waqidi. So what we know about Syria, it's all through Waqidi. And Waqidi is storyteller, not authentic. That becomes popular. So you're right, really. That harm people's understanding of the Quran. Same thing, Sulaiman al-Islam, all these stories people take from Bible. They never learn from Quran. What Quran? Quran came to correct it. But this basic function of the Quran to correct it, we forgot. We don't learn from Quran how correcting it. We still keep insisting on those fabricated stories of Bible, of Muslim. Everybody fabricates. People don't like simple because people don't need to think. They love really these fabricated things. They're so popular. In madrasat, all that we learn first is all fabricated. But learn nice language, and until now in mind. I don't know the answer of why, but the reason is basically, but don't worry about that. It's all past. Nobody reads now Jami, no Persian, India, in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, nobody knows Farsi, nobody knows Jami. So after a while, you'll see all this finish. Nobody knows anything.
You say the thing I was reading Tadabbur al-Quran by Amin Ahmad Islahi, and he was referring to the stories like and the Sulaiman and al-Salam, all the prophets of the Jews. And so he was saying so the Quran obviously, and we can see this from Quran as well, the full story is not mentioned. Quran is just referring to the stories. So he was saying so these stories were there. Yes, there is some thread or element of truth in it, and Quran corrected something, but nonetheless you have to go to that sources. So otherwise you don't understand what Quran is talking about. This is one thing. So maybe I think we need those stories from the sources, and then of course you compare to Quran.
The Quranic way basically is Quran really is, most Quran is not to teach freshly. Most Quran is corrective. Corrective means Quran came, people already have knowledge. People already have practices. The Quran does not come to initiate practices, initiate knowledge. No, Quran, mostly Quran to correct. The people have practice, but it need to be corrected. People have some idea, but need to correct it. Quran keeps correcting, corrective book basically. That's what most of Quran is. So there are stories about prophets, but they need to correct it. But the problem is we don't learn correction. It's still going with the same thing. We don't understand what Quran is doing really. So we think Quran mentions something and details we take from everywhere else. Don't understand many of those details are against the Quran. So we need to learn how Quran is corrected. But people don't think this problem.
I am still a bit confused with Ma'ani and Bayan. So if you can explain it a bit more for me, please. Yeah.
Ma'ani, I said to you that, when you want to convey a message, convey the message using people's language properly. So they understand. So for example, I want to stop people, from drinking. So I use something like the khamr is haram or najis or something, khamr najis, something like that. So that is, ma'ani. That you have meaning. If I want to forbid, I use the right word, which indicates forbidding. I want to command you, I use the right word to command. I want to encourage you, so I use the right word to encourage. I want to wish, so I use the right word how to wish something. I want to cry, use the right word how to make cry and something. Use the right words. That's a ma'ani. So you know the meaning, and you use right words to convey those meaning. So relation between lafz and ma'ana, word and meaning. That is ma'ani. Bayan is after making that ma'ani. Second step really is how can I make it more clear to the mind of people using their own life and earth. So simile, stories, examples, So I say, for example, that isma fi inna is mansoob. That's ma'ana. Ismu inna mansoobun. Then I say that, like, inna Allah alimun. This example, this bayan. More example, bayan, more explanation. So in every single thing, first thing is convey the meaning. That's a basic thing. Convey the meaning. Because many people even fail in that. They don't know how to convey the meaning. They don't know when to use past tense, when to make. Sometimes Quran use past tense for the present. Sometimes Quran use for the future past tense. There's a reason behind that. So many people don't understand this thing even. The second step is then it makes clearer to the people's mind by giving the examples of their own life. Whatever they know, bring stories, bring examples, that bayan.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. I think a lot of the times the ulama, I'm kind of sympathetic to them not reaching certain groups in society because sometimes it means having to maybe give examples that are not as dignified. Like I think in the West, a good example is like Numan Ali Khan. He was able to reach a wider audience because of the way that he speaks about ayat in a way that's more like relatable to people. But he still wasn't reaching certain groups of society where maybe the message could be reached to them through video editing or something that's a bit less conventional. And I think part of the problem is it's hard to reach certain groups of people in a way that's like respectable and dignified, because they might communicate in different ways or understand things in a way that's not really like appropriate for them. So I wonder what your views are on that, like how to reach that kind of level of society without compromising the dignity.
Yeah, this is a very good question. I should have said, but I know I forgot. Maybe many things I forgot. It will keep coming, inshallah. So when I said to people's language, it does not mean really that you lower your standard. Because sometimes people use abuses. People do so many dirty things. So, Quran not going to, you come to their language. We have to also elevate people's taste. But what you need really is that the language that you use, you make it so clear, so interesting, that they find in those abusive and lower language. So you don't need to use their tools, but whatever you want to say, keeping your standard, still you have full capacity to make it interesting, to make it much, much better. Still you can do it. It needs more effort really. People love entertainment, but entertainment does not mean really to go to something very, very dirty. As if you can make entertainment things which are more, because nature is there, fitra is there. So, instead of discussing about dirty things, and you think of, if I talk about dirty stories, everybody will love. Actually, truth really, if you talk about noble stories, it's much, much deeper, but you need to make it more interesting, much, much better. So you don't need to use their tools. Your tools are much more natural. Still they can work. And what people do really. Yeah, it could be possible that many people, their taste is so low, they will not come, but it will work a little bit. But don't go lower. Otherwise, you lose your purpose. So that's the reason that Mawla Farhad does not like Imrul Qais, because it's dirty and all those things. He said, how can he balagha? So he writes like Zuhair ibn Sulma. Zuhair is at the same period, wisdom, nice language. You can see it, influential, very, very nice. But he keeps his dignity. Hakim, like a wise man. So good example, good simile, but keeping a standard. Imrul Qais, a dirty person, goes to every dirt. You can see from his poetry. So ulama should, no doubt, I'm not saying that ulama should lose their standard. No. But at the same time, ulama should make effort how to make the message more interesting, much, much better. It's clear to the mind of people. Clarity does not necessarily mean that we will listen. Nuh al-Salam goes and people put cotton in their ear. They don't want to listen. That will also happen, no doubt. But at least they can't claim that you did not explain to them. Allah wants hujjah, so you should explain properly. Problem is now ulama don't explain themselves. They are not able to make things clear to the mind of the people. And people want to, and many people, they are natural, they want clarity. So, don't people not need to go to those things really. Otherwise, you lose really. And then people love those skills you don't have. So then still, you want to convince people, these are the skills better. And other people are better than you, they will go to them, not you. So we have to bring those natural things, which can, because people have nature and, the fitra. So if you address that fitra, it will become more effective.
Can we say that when Allah is using the word hand in the Quran, He's just speaking in human expression, as human use phrases like give me a hand to mean helping someone? So,
certainly the Quran has come in the human language, but Quran actually at the same time teaches many things which are not human, the non-human experience. So if you use a language which is made for human expression, so you understand that's fine. But use a language to express something which is never human, then the problem. Then we have to understand really what is happening. So that's what many people suffered when Quran uses certain realities which are not human. They're beyond that. But Quran has to use human language. So then Quran says, "Laysa kamithlihi shay," nothing is like Allah. So you understand those words, but don't define them, don't describe them. You get some meaning, but at the end of the day, don't put a new word. Just say Allah knows the best, those realities. But when Allah is talking about the reality which then you go to the human expression, human meaning. The Quran says, when you stand for wudu, wash your face, wash your hand, and wipe your head. Yeah, that's fine. The human language, human action, so we can interpret like that. But those realities which are beyond human experience, people should be careful. Maybe even something like that. Come, I explain, inshallah, because it is another thing. If I start explaining that, it will take 1 hour to explain properly why Allah uses these things. Because many people don't understand when Allah's names come in the Quran and things related to Him. There are 3 different levels. There are those things which Quran use as names for Allah, like Allah ar-Rahman, names for Allah. There are those attributes which Quran use as attributes, sifat of Allah, that you know who is it, Sami', Alim, He knows, He hears. Those things which are sifat of Allah, they are human, meaning it, people also, I can say I am Sami', Allah is Sami', but meaning will be different. Like every Sami' different from the other, every Alim is different from other. So those sifat can be used for human as well, but the meaning will be according to the noun. Like when I say, an ant is running and a car is running. To use the word running, is the meaning same in both sentences? No, because according to noun. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He hears and I say I hear, I use the same word for me and same for Allah, but meaning so huge. So the second thing is called, sifat. In sifat, you have to understand the sifat of Allah, but what is appropriate to Him. But meaning related, but multiplied by many, many times, is huge difference. Sometimes Quran uses the words not as sifat of Allah, rather than action of Allah. Actions of Allah are different. Actions of Allah, you can't make them sifa. Like for example, my name is Muhammad Akram, this is ism. My sifa could be that I'm an alim. This sifa, if you call me alim, I'll be happy. That is sifa. When people use sifa, people are happy. But among my actions are that I eat. If you call me Akram the eater, I'm going to be happy. Though I eat, but it's not by sifa. That's the problem. People don't understand something Allah used for action. Allah becomes angry. Is anger His sifa? No. Can't call Him Ghadaban. That people keep, Allah comes down and, some yanzilu. What does it mean? We don't, it's just action. Don't make sifa. Many things which Quran uses for Allah as an action, people misunderstood as to make Allah sifa. Actions are not sifat. Like for me, I go to toilet. And you come and say, Akram, the one who goes to toilet. And you make a big name for me and say, it's true. It's true, but it's not my sifa. It's actually a humiliation for me. I will be insulted if people call like that. So people I do this, but it's not something you describe me. Is it clear? Actions are different from the sifat. So for Allah, always keep in mind all these 3 things. Ism, sifa, and fi'l. And more explanation, if I have time, I'll explain inshallah, but it really needs more, some details.